Hi, and welcome to the third episode of Cross Country Running 101. My name is Daniel Raggio, and today we are going to explain just what cross country is, and how the sport is practiced. Here's what you need to know. The sport is 200 years old, but the modern scoring and course design is about 100 years old. And over 1 million people across the world participate in cross country running every year. First, cross country running is unique, even within distance running. It's not quite like the other sports. This footage isn't cross-country. This is a track race, but attributes of cross-country running, especially in the steeplechase variant, became track events, and nearly every distance runner on the track has participated in cross-country. Yet, it is not part of track and field, and these two sports are usually done in separate seasons. Like the marathon, in cross-country, every runner starts together, in the same race, at the same time. But cross-country races aren't as lengthy as a marathon, and cross-country isn't practiced on paved roads. It's somewhat like trail running, and cross-country can sometimes take place on trails, but it has a set distance with a measured course, usually between 3 and 7 miles. Plus, unlike trail running, there's team scoring. Like mountain running, cross-country races can sometimes include single track, inclines, and descents, but accessibility and team participation are key. It's not officially confined to the mountains. Like fell running, there are sometimes gates or obstacles involved, but cross-country has more structure. And while challenges exist in cross-country, they aren't the purpose of the event, like in an obstacle race. They're just part of it. So, since cross-country running is not track and field, not a marathon, not a trail run, not a mountain race, not fell running, and not an obstacle course, it's important to know that all these events are related to cross-country, and that cross-country has influence on them as well. Second, cross-country running is not easy. Let me say that again. It's pretty much one of the hardest sports on the planet. And here's why. Let's begin with the hills. Yep, there's uphills. Lots of them. And nobody looks good climbing them. But there's also downhills. And everyone doesn't look good going down those either. In fact, some races begin with them. Most cross-country races are contested on grass, which isn't so bad until you factor in hay fever. When grass and water are mixed, you get mud. And cross-country has lots of it. And it gets everywhere. Plus creek crossings, river crossings, stream crossings, puddles, pretty much water. Water everywhere. Yes, water can be fun. Older forms of the game often had runners jumping over walls. Or, like in this race, also jump over ditches, just random gaps in the trail to leap over and fall into if you aren't paying attention. If you thought Jurassic Park wasn't scary enough, now we're running through the dark, creepy woods. Oh, yes, and fences. They definitely used to climb over those for the heck of it. And why not? Or logs. Overturned trees are just as good as the real thing. And not just hay bales stacked high, so you have to climb over them. And hedges. Cross-country isn't real until you run into a hedge or two. And hurdles. Even if you've never hurdled before, in cross-country, you're going to learn.
Pre-recorded music tapes being accidentally erased. It can't happen.
Plus, steps thrown into the mix just to keep you on your toes. Or sand. Glorious amount of sand just to throw off your rhythm. Kicked up right into your face or your opponent's face. Or, if sand wasn't enough, you can always do it in snow, with full-on snowdrift. Also, running through bridges is super fun. Or barriers you have to duck underneath. Whoever thought that was a good idea. And yes, even a cross-country race with barbed wire, which isn't smart. Plus, cross-country can be contested in the heat and sun in countries close to the equator, or in the rain and mud in conditions where most people would stay indoors. Or cross-country can be run in a blizzard. Even more reasons to have it in the Winter Olympic Games. In fact, here's footage of a hurricane, where some coaches would probably say you need to run faster. It can be done at night under the stadium lights. Heck, in the Cinque Millini, runners run through a working watermill inside a home, and this race has been happening for over 100 years. Also, it can be dangerous. Wildlife will participate, and they don't always behave. These are some reasons why it is the most challenging sport on the planet. Third, cross-country is a team sport made up of individuals. Teams are built from athletes who train and go to school together, or associated through a club program, or top qualifiers representing a nation or region. The sport brings athletes who have different training backgrounds into one race at the same time. Milers, steeplechasers, marathoners, middle distance runners, and even mountain racers. Cross-country champions have been far ranged as triathletes and trail runners to Olympic winners on the track and roads. All runners start at the same time, and finishing place is determined by individual effort. Despite not having traditionally assigned positions, tactics play a big role in competition, with pack running seen as being critically important to getting a loose team score. Team scoring is usually determined by the sum of the finishing places for each individual runner. Every time a runner crosses the finish line, their place is added to their team's total. Like golf, the lowest score wins. After starting en masse, each runner finishes individually, running the same course as fast as possible. Sometimes runners finish very close to each other, which makes it difficult to score. Here we see an actual race finishing with the first 13 runners crossing the line. Scoring this race is how each runner crosses the line. In this example, we will show the scores for the top 4 finishing teams. Your finishing place is how many points you've earned. First place gets 1 point, second place gets 2 points, and third place gets 3 points. However, the 4th place finisher in this race was a teammate of the second place finisher, so 4 points is added to Team B's score. Similarly, the 7th place and 13th place finisher also belong to the same team, in this case, Team D. And as the rest of the race is tabulated, the scoring count for the first 5 finishers of each team. If we total the scores for each team, the lowest score wins, because their total of the finishers was the closest to the front. In this case, 65 points is the winning score, and the rest of the team following in that order. Beyond the team aspect, there is so much more variety within cross-country. Starting with courses, some exist in a looping figure-8 fashion, like the purpose-built trails at Crystal Springs in Belmont, California. Other courses, like the one in Holyrood Park in Scotland, exist on a single loop that is covered multiple times. This one is only 2 kilometers long. Finally, some courses exist as a one lap around a print, like the course on Wimbledon Common in England, that has existed since 1868. Additionally, there might be relay races run on the course, further shortening up the distance. Differences in the length of course for men and women, the number of scorers counted for each team, how the race is scored based on finishing place or total team time, and even how to break a tie. Across the world, the sport is contested at different times of the year. In the United States, it begins in August with high school, college, and pro teams. By December, the season is usually over with major championships taking place for all teams. But that means in Western Europe, the sport is just kicking off with their Continental Championship. By the end of March, most nations in Europe are hosting their own national championships, and then the World Championship takes place at the end of the month. By the middle of July, teams in the Southern Hemisphere are celebrating their season. Finally, watching a meet can be chaos. The most important part of cross country is being there and finding the best spot, so you have to race your fellow spectators to the line. Go experience a cross country meet, you won't regret it.